Welcome to The Last Track, where we help people showcase the last track of their life story in their final wishes. I am your host, Brian Norris, the co-owner of Bateman Funeral Home in Newport, Oregon. Just like a song can bring you back to a day, a time, and a memory, so too can a well-planned service.
I'm going to go through just some very simple questions that we get on a regular basis. And what I'm going to be saying is something that can apply to all funeral homes, not just ours right here locally. This should happen in every funeral home. And I can't tell you how many times we meet with families that come in, and the first thing they do when they sit down, and they say, Mom died 3 days before we were going to get it done. And so now we have a mess. What in Oregon, there are 4 different things that you can do before you're dead to make decisions of what you want to have happen when you die. Now, I think I've only met one person that told me that they're not going to die. And he was wrong. In Oregon, we talk about cremation. We talk about burial. Burial can be in the ground, or they consider burial at sea. So that's 2 places. You can be buried at sea, or you can be buried in the ground. There's entombment, which is also burial, but you're out of the ground and you're in a crypt. And then you can be shipped out. You want to be shipped out? Well, I'm just a long ride up there. You can be shipped out of state, out of country, that type of thing. And those are the 4 things that you can choose to do in the state of Oregon. And the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is let your loved ones know what you want. Because I can't, again, tell you how many times we sit at the table and they say, I don't know if Dad wanted to be buried or cremated. And they're looking at their brother, or they're looking at their sister, or they're looking at Mom, and Mom has just lost Dad. And they're trying to decide, what do they want to do? And so what happens? They always look at me and go, what's more expensive? And that, honestly, you don't want that decision to be based on finances, but maybe you do, because maybe you don't want to have a whole lot of money spent. So you need to tell your spouse or tell your children, I want cremation, or I want burial. And there's different reasons why you'd want different things. Some of them could be, religious, tradition. Maybe you only want burial because, well, that's what Mom and Dad did, and that's what Grandma and Grandpa did, so I want to be buried. But you didn't know that there's an option. I can tell you right now, my dad said, I'm not going to be cremated because he was a fireman. So he has some real reasons why he doesn't want to be cremated. But there's reasons that you need to choose. And I'll tell you what I have to tell the families. I have to look at the family and say, if you're looking at pure dollars and cents, and that's what you're looking at, I always tell them the most expensive urn that you can possibly buy is less expensive than my cheapest casket that you can get. So really, cremation is the least expensive. And it truly is. But you let your loved ones know what you want to do, so that when they're sitting across the table from us, they can just move right on, and they don't have to sit there and agonize over that decision. So as far as once you choose what you want to do, well, let's take this one step back too. When somebody passes away, our legal responsibility is we have to determine who is the next of kin. Who is the next of kin? One of the things that was mentioned was power of attorney. And I can't tell you how many times somebody comes in and says, I've got the power of attorney, And so I'm going to be taking care of the arrangements. What happens to the power of attorney when you die? Okay. What if you had a durable power of attorney? And I've had people argue with me because they had different types of power of attorney. They say, this is durable. What happens? It still dies. It's gone. So that durable power of attorney is gone. And so the person that was holding it is not, by virtue of that power of attorney, the next of kin. And we have to go through some laws that we have to decide how a person is a legal next of kin. And this is really important for you to know, because it starts with your spouse is first. Your spouse is number one. Okay. If I pass away, Donna has the right and the legal responsibility to determine what to do with me. If I haven't told her, she's going to have to make that decision. And she may talk to our daughters and try to come up with that, but she's the legal next of kin. Okay, if you've been together for 27 years, but you're not married, it's tough, because what we have to do next is say, I'm so sorry. I know you've been together for 27 years, but we need to determine whether John, let's just say John's the one that passed away, did John have any children that are over the age of 18? So now this person that's been together for 27 years has to go to John's children that are over the age of 18. And they're the ones that have to make decisions. Let's say John didn't have any children. The next thing we have to do is say, well, is John's parents still around? And then if John's parents aren't around, then we have to go a next step down, and we're going to brothers and sisters. And then we start going to aunts and uncles and cousins and all that kind of stuff. If you're an executor of a will, guess where you're at? You're number 8 on the list. And so if you think that, okay, in my will, I've named Bob to take care of all of my stuff, Bob's not going to be doing it because he's number 8. I've had family members come in arguing saying, I should be, okay, so if you have children and you have 3 children and they're all equal in the eyes of the law. So I've had children come in and say, but I'm the executor of the will. Sally can't tell you what to do. And I say, well, if you want to do that, you're number 8 on the list. And your sister's number 2 or number 3. So that's how that works. That's how that flows. And it's important to know, if you don't have a spouse or if you don't have a next of kin, you need to do something. So there's something called appointment of another. And you can appoint somebody. And if you do this and you stick it in your paperwork, it's an appointment of another. And when you appoint somebody, it supersedes everything. When it's good, then it supersedes everything. So I could even say, I don't want Donna to make those decisions, and I can appoint my best friend, and it will actually do that. Donna's saying no, but it does that. And it's important, because if you don't know, if you're not sure you have somebody that you can rely on to do what you're asking to have done, you can appoint a specific person. So let's say you have some children, and maybe they're not that good at money, and they're not that good at stuff, and you're not sure if they're going to take your $10,000 burial and do a $1,000 cremation. It keeps the difference. And it has happened. I've seen it happen. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. But they can do that. You can have set $10,000 aside to make sure that you're going to get buried, because religiously that's important to you, but your kids could care less, and they cremate you, and they take your $9,000. So that appointment of another is important if you're not sure that your children are going to follow your wishes, or whoever. Fill in the blank. Prearrangement. We touched briefly on prearrangement, and it's one of the ways that you can make some decisions in advance. Any funeral home should be able to do it. There's a key thing you need to ask them. And this is any funeral home, not just mine, but any funeral home. You need to ask them, is this a guaranteed prearrangement? Because it doesn't have to be. But ask if it's guaranteed. Everything that we do with my funeral homes are guaranteed. The funds, so when you come in and you sit down and you say, I want to prearrange what we're going to do, and you fill it all out, you can fund it at that time, or you can just give us information and we'll keep it on file. Funding it means that you're actually paying for, and you lock in all of the prices that the funeral home has control over. So the cremation rate, an urn, all those things. What we can't guarantee is we can't guarantee how much death certificates are going to cost. And they've gone way up in the last bit. They're now $25 a piece for certified death certificates. Yes, they are. The filing, but those things that we can't guarantee, you can put some money towards it, so that way your loved ones don't have to. You can put some funds towards it, like an honorarium for a pastor or those types of things. We can hold those, but the money that we collect, we do not keep. And that way it's managed. And that's for a couple of reasons. And whatever funeral home you work with, ask them where the money goes. They should only do one of two things with it. It should either go into a trust fund, or it should go into an insurance policy. Those are the only two things that they should be doing if they're collecting your money. That way the money is still there if the funeral home goes belly up. You don't want to lose that fund, and the money will stay there. It's portable. So that way, let's say, for example, you move and you decide that you really want to live in Arizona, or you become a snowbird and you're here 6 months and you're in Arizona 6 months. If you pass away in another state, and we're going to get to this in just a second too, because that's another frequently asked question. The other funeral home, if you're in, let's say you went to Phoenix, passed away in Phoenix, whatever funeral home you go to in Phoenix, they can call us and we can tell them how to get access to those funds. And so they don't have to guarantee those prices that we do, but at least there's those funds that will go towards whatever the cost is where you're at. The other question that we get is, if I'm traveling, what happens if I'm in Spain? I'm in Barcelona, I'm running with the bulls. So what happens if one of those bulls get you? So if that happens, first off, congratulations on getting there and running with the bulls. I'm sorry for your loss. But if that happens, there is a travel protection plan that you can talk to the funeral homes about. And there's different funeral homes have them, and we have one that's an international one that we sell. It's not an insurance policy, it's a travel protection plan. And essentially, it will guarantee wherever you are in the world, you'll be cremated, and they will ship your ashes home. No matter where you are in the world, they will guarantee that you get embalmed and shipped back to be buried, or wherever you're at. So if you're from this community, we sell those things as well. And I'm not trying to make a push on it, but that's a question, and it's a good question. How many in here knew Gene Bateman? Gene Bateman. He was the owner of Gene Bateman passed away when he was traveling. And that's why I bring it up, because it happens even to the best of us. So it does happen. And so, and I can't tell you, because we're a destination, how many people come to the coast and then they pass away here at the coast, and then we have to take them back. So, all right. Death certificates is probably the other biggest question that we get, because I'll be sitting there and somebody will say, what's an average? I want to get the average. Oh, the answer is different for everything. If you had a trust, you really only need one. If you don't, then there's going to be a number of things that we go through. There's a checklist. And in that checklist, there's a few things that we ask. And in the state of Oregon, I don't want everybody's eyes to start glossing over, because, okay, this is getting late. I've had a lot to eat, and it's time to go home. But in the state of Oregon, there are long forms and short forms, and those are long and short death certificates. And I'm talking about a certified death certificate, which your dollars paid $25 for each one, and it went straight to the county, and then the county distributes it to the state. In Oregon, there's a long form which includes the cause of death, and then the short form, which does not have the cause of death on it, and that's because of the HIPAA laws, the Privacy Act, that type of thing. Banks and lawyers don't want to know why you died. The only people that really care about it is either the family, because they want to know it for heritage reasons, or life insurance companies. They need to know natural death, that type of thing, so that they can just spend the life insurance funds. They are the only ones that want to know, and that's the only reason you'd want to get a long form death certificate. So why would you need a death certificate? If you have a home that you need to have transferred, and your names are on the title. Most title companies will at least physically need to see a certified special paper sealed death certificate, and then they may make a copy, make a paper and then give it back to you. But it's important. You don't have to run right down there and take the name off. But when it comes time to sell the house, or if you're both gone and your kids have it, and they need to try to sell the house, they need to take both names off the title in order to be able to sell it. In the new era of paperless, now they don't want it. You used to have a certified death certificate to cancel your Reader's Digest. I can't tell you. I talked with the widower one time and said, I had 3 years of my wife's, because they had it on the auto renew. And the only way they get rid of it is to get a certified death certificate. And he had all these Reader's Digest stacked in his bathroom because his wife had it, but he didn't want it. So, and it was very, very true. But in today's world, there's a few places that don't need it as much anymore. But if you have a home that you need to transfer, and there's a list in there for you. If you have a will that needs to go to probate, you need to have a death certificate. Credit cards. The reason that you have to have a certified, and sometimes they just take it and that you fax it to them or you scan it to them, but they do need to see one, because it was a big joke out there to cancel somebody, if you're still alive, well, they say they're dead and that they cancel your credit card. They have to know that the person's passed away in order to cancel that credit card. If you're transferring a title of a car, you can go down to the DMV. They will take it, make a photocopy, and give it back to you. But there's a number of other things in there. And to answer your question, what's the average amount? Is in today's world, it's about 5 to 7, and that's if you have like stocks and bonds, investments with Richard. If you have a lot with Richard, you might need more than one. But you need to have one for your investments. You need to have one for your home. You need to have one for your car, credit cards. If you have a union pension, any type of pensions, those kinds of things, those you'll need in order to shut them off. If you're a very simple and you don't have all of those things, 1 or 2 usually. And if you have a trust, you really only need one for everything in that trust. You have 6 months that you can go to our county registrar and they can make them. After 6 months, then you're going to the state of Oregon and you get to make the great trip to Portland, down to the Oregon building there and up to the 3rd floor or something. And it's a nightmare. Or you have to go, you can do them online too, but it gets expensive too. Yeah. So just make a couple extras, and it doesn't hurt to have a couple extras that you have on a file somewhere.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.